good time to go there.
I guess. Sort of my flavors on it.
So what do they do? Go in and clean up?
I'd like to take their minutes to Continental Road. Once you go to Canada, at the time we were doing we weren't sure we could do that.
Never going to come back.
Same thing we wanted to go to Scotland. Scotland,
Now, is that your dominant hand?
The funny thing is,
Hey, it's sitting for you, right?
So it is in Mexican, there's no way I've been to the fall.
he said,
We knew we could go to the United States.
Right.
sounds like when I was fishing out there, it was a real, and stuff, so it was the same, you know. And he said, that's sometimes the same problem.
I know it.
Walt, they must have got rid of your name, like,
I told her I went home and looked for her. He said she gave it, he'd gone and always right, so I didn't know. But I don't know.
Very good, really good to see you. Really good to see Walt.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I couldn't find it anyway, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I don't know who did it.
I'm still thinking about the feral cat ordinance we had with the Zoom hit bombers. Did you ever see
I'm sorry I missed that one.
They're all, like, we were here Tuesday night, they were all on it, and it was just wrong. Everything was screwed up in the ball. People at home couldn't hear what was going on.
Okay.
When we get done with all the funky stuff and you ask for public comment, we need to ask who else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, okay. All right, let's call the meeting to order. All rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I'd like to start by saying it's wonderful to be back together as a group and see everybody's smiling faces, and it's been a long haul. So, the first order of business tonight is that we have a swearing in of a new member to the Planning and Zoning Commission, Walter Curran, who, as most of you probably know, is ex-mayor of Ocean View. And Walter, we're happy that you're willing to serve.
Thank you, I really like the tech. Yeah.
Should also point out that this is not Mr. Curran's first rodeo as far as planning and zoning is concerned.
Yeah, that's true, I started there, so.
Yes, if you don't mind. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Walter F. Curran.
I state your name.
I, Walter F. Curran,
Do proudly swear
do proudly swear
to carry out the responsibilities,
to carry out the, let me just read it, it's easier.
if you want.
To carry out the responsibilities of the office of Planning and Zoning Commissioner to the best of my ability, freely acknowledging that the powers of this office flow from the people I am privileged to represent. I further swear or affirm always to place the public interest above any special or personal interest, and to respect the right of future generations to share the rich historic and natural heritage of Delaware. In doing so, I will always uphold and defend the constitutions of my country and my state, so help me God.
Congratulations, welcome
Thank
back.
Thank you, Walter. All right, the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Next item is the approval of the minutes from the July 15th, 2001 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, thank you. All right, that brings us to new business on the agenda, and the first item on the docket is P336, a land development concept plan submitted by property owner Stephen J. and you'll have to forgive me on the last name. Thank you. To subdivide parcels of land into 7 parcels of property zone R1, single-family residential district, located at 32 and 34 Woodland Avenue. So,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Colangelo does have a representative here who's struggling to get a tripod to work.
Apologize.
You should ask the handsome gentleman in the back of the ball cap to help you. He can fix anything.
Everybody see that? This project was previously recorded.
Would you be kind enough to introduce yourself
So-
because the recorder can't tell who you are?
Yes, my name is Steve Anderson with Pinoni Associates. We're the engineers helping with this project. So the project was previously recorded a few years ago, and since that time it has sunset. So we're proposing the same 6-lot subdivision as before, but since the previous recordation, the stormwater regs have changed. So we had to make the lots a little bit smaller to add this stormwater management area in the back here. And everything else is pretty much the same as before. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Anderson, about this project?
The home that's on the project, or on the property right now,
Mhm.
we're building, that will be removed as
Yes,
part of the plan.
yes, that,
And that little, it looks almost like a driveway, but I guess that's Hummingbird Lane.
that'll be that's being rebuilt.
So that will be Hummingbird.
Yes.
That will be the access point.
Correct.
All right. Are there any other questions from anyone? All right.
We need to let Mr. Lober address the project.
Shall I give you my comment? So, good evening, my name is Jim Lober, I'm the town engineer. We reviewed the concept plan, and these are our planning and zoning committee, offices, and my comments regarding the project. So in general, the town, we need to provide topography on the plan in accordance with section 140, 102D6. We need you to remove note number 5. The existing building should be shown to be demolished on the plan. It will be required to be removed as part of the initial site work so that work in the right of way can proceed properly to construct the new road. At some point, there was an agreement between Mr. Colangelo and the town that building could stay and sort of work as a construction office during construction. That's no longer going to be acceptable. The building's going to need to come down at the beginning of the process. A wetland delineation will be required for the property in accordance with section 116.13. If no wetlands are found on site, a report describing the investigation from a qualified professional will still be required. The entirety of the site lies within the FEMA Zone 80 100-year floodplain, elevation 6 and elevation 7, with no floodway. Section 116.5E2 of the Town Code, development in areas with base flood elevations but no floodway, states that for development activities in a flood hazard area with base flood elevations but no designated floodways, the applicant shall develop hydrologic and hydraulic engineering analyses and technical data reflecting the proposed activity, and shall submit such technical data to the floodplain administrator and to FEMA. The analyses shall be prepared by a licensed professional engineer in a format required by FEMA for a conditional letter of map revision or a letter of that provision. Submittal requirements and processing fees shall be the responsibility of the applicant. The proposed development activity may be permitted if the analyses demonstrate that the cumulative effect of the proposed development activity, when combined with all other existing and potential flood hazard area encroachments, will not increase the base flood elevation more than 1 foot at any point. Until these two items have been satisfied, no plan for development on site within the floodplain boundary can be considered code compliant. Assuming that FEMA approval can be obtained, any plan for the site will be required to comply with all applicable aspects of sections 116.4 and 116.5 of the town code. We recognize that the Clomer approval was once obtained for the site prior to the previous recordation, but we honestly, because that needs to be gotten through FEMA, we don't have any information on whether that original application and approval is still valid. So that will be the applicant's responsibility to either get it again or get correspondence from FEMA that states that it's still essentially in place. Sediment stormwater management approval will be the jurisdiction of the Sussex Conservation District. However, the town will also need to review the stormwater design. Please provide copies of the sediment stormwater management plans to the town. The previous grading plan showed a roadside swale that runs along the backside of the sidewalk and then into an open-ended pipe that ties into the drainage system. We'd like you to eliminate that swale, let the grade the lots to just drain across the sidewalk to the street, and then let the water get into the closed drainage system. Do you think that'll end up being a better product, more maintainable for the town? And then regarding easements, we need you to label the existing water easement with recordation information and a note that states that it benefits the town. The existing culvert along the rear property line is mutually owned and maintained by the property owner to the west and the applicant. An agreement will need to be recorded and referenced on the plan outlining responsibility for the pipe between the property owner to the west and the homeowners association with Blue Heron Land. I don't know if there's a written agreement between the two property owners at this point.
Yeah, I'll have to check with them.
Okay. But I'm sorry.
The one property owner is in attendance.
Okay.
Is what?
Is in attendance.
Oh, okay.
So even if that agreement does exist, we're going to need a modified agreement that switches the one responsibility over to the homeowner association. I need you to label the off-site drainage easement with the recordation information, and I need you to specifically reference the agreement between the Collegials and Robert Harrington on the plan. The agreement that you supplied along with the application. We just need to make sure it's referenced on the plan. And then we also need you to provide a sidewalk from Woodland Avenue to the proposed stub to the Harrington property on the south side of Hummingbird Lane. The plan currently shows sidewalk all along the north side. We're going to need a piece of sidewalk that brings you from Woodland Avenue back to the stub to the Harrington side.
Okay.
That's all we have.
Ready. Anyone have any questions on that review? All right.
I do. Or
Yeah.
is it just for the council?
We'll open that up in just a minute to you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we can go forward with, I guess we have a property owner that's here that abuts the property.
I'm owner of the property next door.
Do you want to address the?
Okay, would you like to address it?
I did have 2 questions.
Okay,
You
would
need
you
to
come
stand
up
up
and state your
and-
name and,
But come forward so that we can get you on the, go to the podium, please. Because we are, for those of you who are in attendance and don't know this is being live streamed on, where are we? Facebook, is that where we are?
YouTube.
YouTube. I knew it was one of them. And so we don't know how many people are watching, probably 10,000, Mr. Harrington. I don't want you to be nervous.
All around the world.
Maybe 11,000, it's hard to say. So, but you need to state your name, your address within the town of Ocean View, and then you can make whatever comments you need.
My name is Robert Harrington. I live at 38 Woodland Avenue. When I was born, I was brought home to 38 Woodland Avenue. My family used to own about 114 acres of the innards of Ocean View. I'm the last one left with only 1 acre and a third next door to your property. Well, first of all, Ocean View is a wonderful place. It's come a long way. It's no longer a town on, well, Woodland Avenue used to be a street of hog pens and dog pens and ducks and rabbits being raised and home killing day. I remember all that when I was little. Now we're more modern and we have nice homes and so forth. And I, unfortunately, am one of the stragglers of the old era, and I know my place is tired looking, and we're getting ready to try to do a little bit about that. But my question is, I was told when Mr. McMullen was in charge of the zoning and all of that, that your development would change my property so that the frontage of my property would no longer be Woodland Avenue, but would be this new road that's going in. And that, he recommended that we consider subdividing our property if we ever wanted to, because they'd probably never be allowed again. And we spent a bunch of money getting plans drawn up, and that was all through the planning and zoning years ago, but then nothing ever happened at your project, so I think all of that all died off. I recently talked to the new guy, Mr. Comino, I believe his name, and he didn't know anything about any of that, because I guess it was long ago. So all I'm asking is it going to be detrimental to my property if that's the new frontage and the setbacks change? Because my property's pretty skinny, and if my house burnt down, I don't know whether I could put it back again because the frontages would change. So that's all I want to know. And I don't have any other questions or commentary. And I did grant an easement for them to be able to clean up the swale, which, you know, that ditch that's there? My grandfather did that back in the 1840s. And it was not a town ditch. It was just something he did. Okay, thank you.
So I can speak to that if that's okay. So your lot currently fronts on Woodland Avenue, and you have what is called a front yard along Woodland, and you have side yards along the side property lines, right? Now that you're going to have a public right-of-way that runs along the northern boundary of your property, that boundary now becomes another front yard. So the frontage of your property doesn't necessarily switch or change. It's just that your lot's now going to be a corner lot with 2 street frontages instead of 1 street frontage and 2 side frontages. So that does create a detriment for your property, because you go from having a 15-foot side yard setback to having a 25-foot front yard setback along that side property line. So you essentially have 10 more feet of setback. So when this project came through the first time, at least the first time that I was involved in it a number of years ago, we made the comment that he either needed to shift the road to the north to accommodate that extra 10 feet so that the 25-foot setback would still only throw 15 feet onto your property, or he needed to work with you and get your approval for the detriment that he was creating on your property. The agreement that I referred to in my comments was, I believe, was an agreement between you and Mr. Colazzo. I was under the impression that that was essentially negotiated and that you were okay with that additional setback.
That we negotiated was an easement to serve as the ditch. I don't have really any other agreement.
Okay,
And
well,
we're not really trying to subdivide the property right now.
all right, well, I have a copy of the agreement between somebody and Mr. Colagio that provides for access to your property, a stub street that gets constructed, separate from the easement I was under the impression. So, again, this is back from when Charlie was here, and I was a lot less involved then.
I know there was an agreement that he was going to put a sewer and water taps on the lots if we subdivided it, but I was under the impression that all that collapsed when nothing happened over there, and nobody ever came to us to say, hey, you need to renew this project or anything.
Got it. Well, I'm unfamiliar with the subdivision of your property. That would have been something that I would have reviewed.
But it was presented here, and I remember they told us that it was all going to be piggyback or done at the same time as they did theirs. But like I say, I'm an old guy. I'm not trying to subdivide. You know, I don't know how much longer I'll be here, but I don't know what my nephews who will be heirs might want to do. But I'm going to sit back and listen now.
Okay.
Why would you have to change his address if the front is facing Woodland Avenue?
He wouldn't have to change his address. No, he wouldn't have to change his address. It's purely
That's the question he asked, right?
No, I don't think.
not yet.
He doesn't have to say, he can maintain the address he currently has.
Absolutely.
Address Woodland Avenue.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no good reason for him to change that.
Right, but if he did choose to subdivide, because he now has additional frontage on Hummingbird, the new lots that would only have frontage on Hummingbird would get Hummingbird addresses.
That's correct.
But not the one on Wood.
but not the
But
one in
not the
front.
one on Wood.
Right. Right.
Mr. Chairman, this nice lady here has been patient.
Good evening. My name is Darlene Warlodge. My husband and I live at 35 Woodland Avenue. So we basically, from our front porch, would be looking at the side of 6 homes, and now proposed to be 7 homes. Pardon me?
It's still 6.
It's still 6?
Yes.
What are you doing with the
It's
7?
stormwater management area.
Pardon me?
Stormwater management.
Oh, you're taking that extra property for stormwater management?
Yes.
Okay. So we had a few issues we wanted to talk about, and the first was, and this is probably for Jim, was an EIS done before this was approved? Do you know?
Environmental impact statement?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I don't believe the code requires one
Well,
for.
could you find out and get back to me on that?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't think there is one required for this project.
Pardon me?
I don't think there is an EIS required for this project.
Okay, well, if we could find out, if we could delve into the requirements for that and confirm that an EIS was not required, I'd appreciate that.
Do we have something in particular in mind that's an environmental issue?
Well, actually, yeah, I do. There are species of animals there that could potentially be impacted. The stormwater management is a major concern for us because Woodland Avenue, when it rains, floods severely, and fortunately, I would have at that point lakefront property because it does, if you haven't seen it, it does flood. I have pictures of it this deep. And so I am concerned about what you put in, I have a picture of it. I have a concern about what you're going to be doing with the stormwater drainage and management. In particular, the swale that goes on the right side, because now things are feeding into that, but not effectively, because we have a couple of the drainage things, and they're not working at all. Jim, you might want to look into that. It's in front of my home, there's one, and there's one in front of the neighbor's home, and they don't function as what they were originally meant to do.
If I could just interject,
Sure.
those things are just infiltration wells, they don't go anywhere. We have a couple projects that are coming through Woodland Avenue that will include drainage.
What will that be? What will those projects be?
They're sidewalk projects.
And they will help with the drainage?
We're incorporating drainage into that project.
Okay, when is that going to be done? Do you
Well, the
know?
first section is being designed now from Route 26 to Hudson Avenue.
Okay, I have seen that, yeah, okay.
And then the
And
next
that's going to
section
continue how
will
far?
go all the way to Daisy.
To Daisy?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, the other thing that we were concerned about is, traffic, obviously. Woodland Avenue has gotten really busy in the last several years. And I know that there was a traffic study that's being done there, but it's a major cut through for people coming through so they can avoid the lights at, what I'm talking about, Central and West. And so there's a lot of traffic in the evening. So I am concerned about the impact that would have with the 6 properties.
If I could again, we did complete that study. We did complete the traffic study
Okay.
in July of this year.
Mm-hmm.
We did implement the all-way stop conditions
At Oakland?
Oakland
Right,
and Daisy along with one of Vets.
okay.
And that did decrease the amount of cut-through traffic we have.
Mm-hmm.
We're also implementing a restricted right turn from southbound Central Avenue to westbound Oakland,
Mm-hmm.
so people cannot circumvent the light.
Okay,
And we're also incorporating traffic calming measures along with our geometric improvements
Good.
at Woodland and Daisy.
good.
And that project is being designed right now.
Okay, what's the traffic calming
We have
mechanism?
determined.
We have it determined? Okay, something like a humper
Will be no
speed
speed
bump.
bumps.
No speed bumps, okay, okay. Good, because I raced my motorcycle down that road, so I don't see speed bumps on it.
Again, I remind you that there are a lot of people watching this.
I know. Hey, tell me about it.
Can I ride a motorcycle?
Ken McLaughlin's on me, don't worry about it. So, Jim, I would appreciate if I could get your transcript today of what you just read out, because you did a great job, but you read it really fast.
Sure.
You can
Sorry.
email me, I will send it to you.
Pardon me?
You can email me, I will send it to you.
Okay, perfect, yeah, thanks, I appreciate it. And that's actually it for us. Like I said, oh, no, there is one other thing. So we're gonna be looking at the side of these homes. From my house, 35 Woodland
You're the
Avenue.
one,
Pardon?
you're the property owner.
Can I ask the two of you to remind yourselves that you're supposed to be addressing the planning commission?
Okay.
This is not intended to be cross-examination or a conversation between the two of you, because you're not telling us anything that's helpful to these gentlemen
Okay.
that is going to make a decision, okay?
Okay, good point, well taken.
I
A
hope
question
so.
for the council or planning board is this: is there going to be some landscaping on the, what is that, the east side of the project? So that it's screened, or there's something that's more aesthetic than looking at the side of the house?
There are screening requirements in the code
There
that will
are,
make sure.
what are they?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. There's a section in there that's titled screening within the land development section, and then it
Okay, will
lists
that be on the street side?
on the Woodland Avenue side?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right, well, thank you, thanks, I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. All right.
Who's left?
Anyone else present that would like to make a comment?
Yeah, I would. Al Casapula, how you guys doing?
I'm sorry, let me get.
Al Casapula. I live, my property is behind this property. When I bought the property, there was a ditch there. It was probably maybe knee deep, a couple of feet wide. As the years went through, the ditch got to be like a river. And I had to fill it because my house was ready to fall in the ditch. I had many dealings with Steve Caluso, is his name, and the guy's not a very nice guy to deal with. And it doesn't, I guess what I'm saying, I don't know how much it's gonna matter, but my concern is that I'm gonna be, is he gonna do the right thing with everything? How's he gonna be? He fought me tooth and nail. He owns half the ditch, I'm in the other half. I offered to pay everything, it cost me $55,000 to fix this ditch. He didn't come up with one dime. I told him he didn't have to. All he had to do was give me permission for contractors to do it. He wouldn't give me permission. He told me I had to plant trees on his property. It was unbelievable, this guy. I mean, here I am, a guy down, my house is getting ready to fall in a ditch, and this guy's kicking me while I'm down. I mean, what kind of guy does that? So, I was hoping he would be here tonight so I could get the pleasure to meet this nice guy, but he's not, obviously. So, I'm here just to maybe vent and maybe just say that, to let you know what kind of person you're dealing with here. I've been down here 34 years. One of the things that are nice about down here is this is a real community. People help each other. People come together down here. This guy doesn't fit in. I'm sorry. So, really look hard on everything that you're looking at here, whatever you're doing with this guy, because if it was somebody else, like I'm a victim of it, he won't help you. He won't do anything to help you. And every time that he would, fight me on something, I had to hire an engineer, and I had to get the engineer. So I'm paying this guy by the hour because of Caluso giving me a hard time. So, and like I said, it cost me $55,000 to fix this ditch. And I didn't ask him for a dime. All I asked him for was permission for the contractors to be able to go on his property and fill the ditch. He wouldn't give it to me. I had to ask my other neighbor on the other side to go on his property, and it cost me more money because they couldn't get to the ditch the right way through. So, all I'm saying is that the guy's not a very nice guy. He's not a guy that would help anybody. So if there was anything I can do to say to not help him, and I'm not like that, I'll help anybody. But this guy, he just doesn't fit in here, so that's all I got to say. Anybody?
Jim, you want?
I'd like to ask Mr. Casper a question. Do you have a written shared maintenance agreement for the pipe with Mr. Colon?
We have stuff. Yeah, I had to fill, I don't exactly know what we have because the engineer took care of all that.
Could you give us the name of the engineers, Mr. Lowe?
Yeah, Rich Poe.
It was Vista, right?
Yeah, it's Rich Paul, we talked.
Yeah, I mean, we did everything. We dotted all our i's, crossed all our t's. Everything was done, you know. Ken was along with the process too. But he just, you know, and he wanted me to sign something like that just to say that, you know, if anything's wrong with the ditch, I take care of it. Any little thing that he could do to get me, he did it. And I signed it and I did it because I had no choice.
Sure.
But the guy, I mean, it was unbelievable. He slowed me. I could have had the project done in a lot sooner, but he just tied everything up and slowed everything down. Didn't return phone calls, didn't return emails. He did eventually, but it took forever. And he has a partner, I don't know if he's still involved, Greg White. And I know Greg. And Greg was the one that really helped me out a lot with it and got things moving. So, but I was hoping he would be here tonight so I could let him know, you know.
Well, as part of the process, we're going to insist that that agreement, whatever agreement exists, is modified so that it becomes between you and the homeowners association for the subdivision. And obviously, we're going to insist that it become a shared, you know, responsibility.
All right, thank you.
For that
Appreciate that.
element.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I have to say, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Al.
you.
All right. Do we have any comments on the, no comments from the write-ins? Okay. All right. So are there any other comments from the, those in attendance? All right. So this is a concept plan, so it does not require a vote. Correct?
Correct.
All right. So I guess at this point, if there's no other comments, we'll move on to the next item.
I think that just for the benefit of Mr. Anderson, I assume that by your silence, you're telling Mr. Anderson that it's okay to continue along this path and move on towards.
Are you okay with the comments?
Yeah.
And you're familiar with what Mr. Lober, do you have a copy of Mr. Lober's comments?
Yes, I do.
Excuse me, Dennis. In
Sir.
the past, we used to vote on the concept, so they have an idea.
Did we vote on the concept plan?
I think so.
I don't think so.
No, it's just on a preliminary and a final.
Yeah.
So, but, I mean, I don't have any negative comments towards what you're doing. As long as you can meet what is required, you proceed and bring back your preliminary plans to us.
And do whatever Lober tells you.
All righty, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, next item of new business is P337, the land development concept plan, again, for a proposed retail/office building submitted by the property owners Eric and Denise F. Bean, the property zone GB1, General Business District 1, located at 104 Atlantic Avenue. What's that? Oh, it's on Atlantic, yeah. All right. Can you give us your name and,
Yes, my name is Ray Blakeney. I'm with Land Design, Plitco LLC Engineering, and I'm representing Mr. Bean we did the design and we're representing Mr. Bean for the project.
all right.
I'm sure you've got the plan in front of you. It's a small parcel of land, approximately 1 acre. It was subdivided off of a larger piece. There's considerable non-tidal wetlands on the property. Part of the proposed plan is to get a nationwide 18 permit that will allow filling of a 10th of an acre site. The site's zoned general business. The owner wishes to put just a small office building on the site with associated parking. There's the existing commercial entrance on the site created by DelDOT during Route 26 in improvements. We are in receipt of Mr. Lover's comments. I'm willing to answer any questions you might have about the project.
Okay. So looking at it, does that take that whole wooded area that I ain't measure in, but from the east office all the way down to Kenwood?
Pretty much. Like I said, if you look at the plan, you can see the wetland line coming through there, and that's the area in the front there that they're planning on filling. So yeah, so we're going to put the proposed building and parking on the existing uplands and use the wetland area that we're going to be filling as the stormwater management project.
Okay, there was, we were having a question there about the right way for fire trucks in and out of there.
We've not yet discussed this project with the fire marshal. Obviously, it's going to be something that we're going to do pretty quickly before we move too much further. But we have discussed it with DelDOT. We have discussed it with Conservation District for stormwater management.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Jim, I think you've got a pretty long list of comments to make on this. So I'm gonna let you get at it.
Yeah. All right. So again, my name is Jim Lober, town engineer. All right, so regarding parking, the last two parking spaces on the building side of the drive aisle are impossible to back out of without multiple turning movements. We need you to reconfigure the parking to provide an appropriate backing opportunity for all of the spaces. The last space on the opposite side of the drive aisle from the building and the dumpster enclosure are within the 10-foot easement required by section 14079B6. We need you to reconfigure the parking to remove any proposed improvements from the easement. And then stipulating the parking calculation that the office use permitted is non-medical or dental. There's a higher.
Sure.
If the Army Corps of Engineers does not approve the application of the nationwide permit for the disturbance of the wetlands as the plan currently indicates, the layout will need to be revised or the wetland buffer averaging will need to be applied to provide compliance with Article 2 of Chapter 116. Again, as with the last project, the entirety of the site lies within the FEMA Zone 80 100 floodplain elevation 7 with no floodway. For the record, Section 116.5E2 of the Town Code, development in areas with base flood elevations but no floodways states that for development activities in a flood hazard area with base flood elevations but no designated floodways, the applicant shall develop hydrologic and hydraulic engineering analyses and technical data reflecting the proposed activity and shall submit such technical data to the floodplain administrator and to FEMA. The analyses shall be prepared by a licensed professional engineer in a format required by FEMA for a conditional letter of map revision or letter of map revision. Submittal requirements and processing fees shall be the responsibility of the applicant. The proposed development activity may be permitted if the analyses demonstrate that the cumulative effect of the proposed development activity, when combined with all other existing and potential flood hazard encroachments, will not increase the base flood elevation more than 1 foot at any point. Until items A and B have been satisfied, no plan for development on site with a floodplain boundary can be considered code compliant. Assuming that FEMA approval can be obtained, any plan for the site will be required to comply with all applicable aspects of sections 116.4 and 116.5 of the Town Code. So, Land Design made a very similar application to FEMA for the CJ Pines property right across the street. So, okay. Familiar enough with that. Okay. I need you to show proposed connections to the public water and sewers, conceptual at least. Regarding landscaping and screening, a 15-foot screening buffer is required against the residential properties to the rear. Given that disturbance of the wetlands is prohibited, it will be impossible to provide this screening in the area immediately adjacent to the residential properties. An assessment will need to be made of the existing vegetation within the wetland area to determine if that vegetation, in conjunction with the distance to the building, provides sufficient screening. It is possible that the screening will need to be provided in the upland area between the building and the wetlands. I have to admit, I don't know that I have very specific direction for you on what that assessment will entail. I think we'll probably have to stand out there with you guys and take a look.
Sure. That was my thought too. We'd probably do it after the fall when the leaves are falling down, so we get a better sense of what it's going to look like year round.
Sounds good. Although parking in the setbacks areas is permitted and no minimum distance is specified in the code for a buffer between non-residential uses, the parking against the property line and the dumpster enclosure only a few feet off of the property line will not allow sufficient distance to provide the screening required by section 140.73. And that sort of builds on the fact that you got to get them out of these.
Right.
Sediment and stormwater approval will be the jurisdiction of the Sussex Conservation District. However, the town will also need to review the stormwater design Please provide copies of the sediment and stormwater management plans to the town. We are uncomfortable with the configuration of the entrance and drive aisle with respect to the fire department access. However, the town will defer to the fire marshal for review and approval of the entrance and parking lot configuration for fire protection purposes. So if they don't buy in, we're not going to back. We need to provide a sidewalk connecting the sidewalk Atlantic Avenue to the sidewalk along the front of the building. And again, regarding the entrance, we're uncomfortable with the configuration of the entrance and drive aisle with respect to the ingress and egress and the stacking. However, the entrance design is within DelDOT's jurisdiction. The town will defer to them for review and approval of the entrance configuration. And then one, special point is, given the potential need for significant changes to the layout based on comments from outside agencies, and in accordance with section 140-103-I1, the Planning and Zoning Commission will not take action on the preliminary plan until the applicant can show that the Army Corps of Engineers, the Fire Marshal, and DelDOT have all approved the site design.
So, as far as that approval goes from DelDOT, would you be looking for a letter of objection at this point? Or just a memo?
I think if they're willing to give you a memo that says that we're satisfied with the layout, that's fine. We don't need an official approval.
Got it.
And I would say the same thing from the Fire Marshal.
Sure.
I don't know that the Army Corps is going to work that way.
Right.
That's all we have.
Okay. Jim, are the number of parking spaces based upon the size of the proposed building?
They are. They're based on the size of the building and then a combination of retail and office use that's not a medical office.
Okay.
So that's why we asked them to stipulate on the plan that the office could not be medical at the current parking calculation.
Got it. Okay. All right. All right. Is there any comments or questions from the commission? We will open it up to the audience.
You guys dispersed.
All right. So, no questions from the audience. Anything on the YouTube? No questions? All right. All right. Well, if we have no further comment from the members, I guess at this point, as I said, this is a concept plan, so we don't need to vote on it. I think we've got some homework to do here.
Yes, sir.
And we'll look forward to you bringing it back for preliminary.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. All right. Well, with that said, Ken, do you have anything you need to go over with us, or?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.